Hi, it's John Adams, and I'm the Public Crusader. As the famous saying goes, for evil to prevail, good men must do nothing. With every day that goes by, I'm witnessing this phenomena right throughout Australia. What happened to the good men of this country, and where do they go? Why is it that in this country we all we see is self-interested elites focusing on themselves while the country continues to fall apart? You may be asking why I'm asking these questions and making these statements. Well, today represents the 1 year anniversary. 365 days ago, the 6th of April, is when last year I walked into ASIC's offices and gave them my 608-page report of alleged misconduct. In 365 days, ASIC has achieved nothing. All I've heard from ASIC is silence. That silence, I say, has allowed evil to spread throughout Australian society like a toxic cancer. In the last 365 days, ASIC has confirmed on 3 occasions that there is a so-called official investigation. But how long does it take ASIC to determine whether John Adams is telling them the truth and whether John Adams is right, or whether John Adams is just a foolish idiot and he made a complete mistake? Or even worse, that John Adams is a malicious liar and he concocted the whole conspiracy. Surely, ASIC, as a professional law enforcement body, would be acting with urgency in order to protect the public from harm. We know from other famous ASIC cases, and the one I'm going to cite is Mayfair 101, and anyone can look that up in the mainstream media. There's been numerous articles about Mayfair 101. When that investigation started on the 29th of January 2020, ASIC was in court within 7 to 8 weeks. And they acted swiftly, according to ASIC Deputy Chair Karen Chester, in order to protect the public. And here we are in this matter that is before ASIC, which ASIC tells me they are investigating. The evidence is way more stronger than the Mayfair case. And here we are, a so-called investigation been going on for 10 months and nothing, just silence. It has been the last 365 days, one of the most excruciating and frustrating periods of my life. It has been baffling to understand what is happening at ASIC and why do the elites in this country behave the way they do. I have been called crazy to consider the possibility of corruption. But given the revelations of this week that the Prime Minister was seen with said individuals and said positive statements about said company and said individuals, how can one not consider corruption? How can one consider that the Prime Minister did not put his thumb on the scales, or if not him, someone in his office, or someone in his government, or one of the ministers, or one of the minister's advisors? Or maybe it is ASIC that's too afraid to do something because of the political ramifications that the government may inflict on ASIC, given that those in ASIC who are responsible for making these decisions are, at the end of the day, political appointees. With every day that goes by, the only thing I can conclude is something is fundamentally wrong. And that's not just my assessment. There are people in my team, including my barrister, who also shares the view that there is something that does not stack up here. So what is really going on, and why is evil allowed to continue? There is only one way that ASIC is going to prevail from this situation victorious. They have to write to me and say that my allegations have no substance. They have to say that John Adams is a complete nutcase idiot and everything he said was wrong. And it took us some time to determine that everything that Adams says was wrong. But dare I say that if the alternative circumstance evolves, that what I said was right, then ASIC has a lot to answer for, given how slow they've been, given the lack of urgency, given the lack of energy and the desire to protect the public and to stop evil from manifesting in this country. if I am right, the days of ASIC and its commissioners, dare I say, are numbered. Because I will be going across the country, both physically and online, and I'll be telling the public that if you are a victim of what I've alleged, you are a victim because ASIC allowed it to happen. So one may ask, where to from here? What I can report is that in the last week, I've received a letter from the inquiry, and the inquiry has asked for the full 608-page report of alleged misconduct that I provided to ASIC 365 days ago. For legal reasons, I've told the inquiry that I'm not prepared to do that. I've given them about 80 pages, including 9 out of the 103 exhibits, and that should be enough to give the senators enough information about the seriousness of the matter and why it is of great urgency that ASIC acts with speed to determine whether the public is at risk and whether financial harm and financial crimes have been committed. One of the interesting things of last week was that the committee secretary wrote to me and said that I am prohibited from telling the public what's going on. Well, while I didn't go into the specifics, this week's video, I pretty much told people in broad terms what's going on. The Parliament has the power to charge me with contempt. Under the Parliamentary Privileges Act, Section 13, the Parliament has the power to put me in jail for 6 months. I dare the inquiry to do so. Unfortunately, so far, this inquiry has been far too slow. It has not grasped the seriousness of what's going on. Submissions are being held up, and the word on the street coming out of the committee secretariat, including the staff, is that there's a delay among the politicians. And obviously, given my set of revelations this week, we have two senators from Labor on the inquiry, and it must be asked as to who on the inquiry is delaying proceedings and for why. And is this delay because they're busy with other matters, or is it because of politics? We don't know, but the more this drags out, the more the public will ask questions, and the more I'll ask questions, because this problem has been happening for too long. The cockroaches at ASIC have survived too many attempts to hold them to account. Reviews, inquiries, and royal commissions, they have survived without punishment, without any form of consequence. I had hoped that this time would be different. While I've done as much as I can, it is ultimately up to Parliament to do their job. And it would appear that at this stage of the game, that some of these senators, for whatever reason, have not met the task with the urgency and the energy required to deliver a law enforcement body that Australia deserves, where we can pursue justice and crush evil. So we will have to see what happens over the next few weeks as we head to the end of April and as we get into May with the federal budget. With every day that continues to go on, I will wait to see what the elite establishment does. Will the investigation into my package conclude? Will it continue in silence? Will ASIC finally take action given the abundance of evidence they already have? Will Parliament discipline me? Will Parliament actually conclude the processing of submissions? Will Parliament hold hearings, and will I be called to testify against ASIC? These are the big unknowns as to what's going to happen over the next few weeks. But dare I say, as I've said in some of these previous episodes, Things have happened in the past few weeks which are inexcusable, and I have declared war against ASIC, and I will pursue ASIC until the end. And unless if I'm completely wrong, and ASIC can demonstrate to the dotting of the I's and the crossing of the T's why I'm wrong, they will pay for their inaction. They will pay for the sound of silence. They will pay for allowing evil to continue in this country. I'm John Adams, and I'm the Public Crusader.